Whoa. Today on Cherry Picking, we're gonna turn the interior of this wagon from this to this. Stay tuned. Oh boy. That's right. Welcome back. Today, we are going to be working on the 66 Ford Country Sedan wagon that you may have seen in previous videos on here. I have a whole playlist about this car that we call Stray Cat. Maybe some of you don't know. If you don't know, you can go watch all the other videos on the playlist about this 66 Ford wagon. I drug it out of its slumber where it had been sitting in the same place since 1999, owned by the same family. We're not working on getting this thing running any better because, well, it runs pretty good. It's got some minor issues, but today we're really focused on the interior. I've actually worked on the interior quite a bit on this car, as you may have seen in the channel. The last thing I did was actually the headliner, and it turned out really good, and it's holding up pretty good. It's been about, it's been a few months since I've done that, but now we need to address a big elephant in the room, and that is the front seat of this wagon. It's in rough shape. I'm currently using a lot of the original foam padding along with some extra foam padding that I had that was from a bed, actually. Kind of was makeshift, and I basically just covered it in a blanket. The plan for this car was always kind of to put bucket seats in it, so that's what we're doing today. I actually have this set of bucket seats here that are from a 65 Thunderbird that I have sitting out back. It was a parts car that my dad had bought, and it just so happened to have a pair of seats in it. Now, if you don't know, the bucket seats from a 64 to a 66 Thunderbird are virtually all the same with some different upholstery. They are almost the exact same seats as what would come in a full-size Ford Galaxie from 65 to 66. I don't know if 64 is exactly the same or not, but 65 and 66, it's basically the same bucket seat. The only difference is the rails. Thunderbird had slightly different rails. They were a little bit shorter, and so you actually have to modify them a little bit and add a bracket to make them work. But these seats are really expensive, and considering the parts car was pretty cheap, we already made our money back on the car, so these seats to me are basically free. So today you're going to see me basically tear apart these seats. We're going to be learning together, but this needs to get done, and I happen to have a little holiday weekend, so I have quite a few days. Before I do that, let's show you the interior of this car again and show you what I'm talking about with this seat. So as you can see, this is the interior of our wagon. It's currently this Serape Mexican blanket that I had purchased that's kind of close to the aqua interior that you may or may not be able to tell. We already did a carpet in this thing. It's a little dirty right now, but it's got a brand new ACC carpet that has mass backing on it. And I've got a little center console right there temporarily. It's actually the one that came in the car. But this is our seat right now, and it's kind of hard to tell, but there are some spots that are starting to poke out, and it's kind of taking a beating. You can actually see the foam right in here. It's separating a little bit, and it's pilling pretty bad because it's, well, it gets used a lot. This is kind of a daily driver-esque car, and it's okay. The other side's actually worse, and I'll go ahead and show you that. And on the other side, you can actually see where more of our problem lies, more of that separation. It's not actually cut yet, but it is separated. And we also have an issue right here. Now, these are actually welding rods that I added into the seat basically to connect all of the springs over like a batten, and adding listing rods so that the entire seat moves together more like it's supposed to. The problem is they were not hog-ringed super well and poking into our plastic panel that's right here. So the seat has served its purpose, but it's basically time to redo it. And I'd really like to put some bucket seats in this thing. So let's get to that. So let's go ahead and show you what is actually going on these 65 Thunderbird bucket seats that's going to make it closer to a Galaxie, which was my goal. I had probably the biggest luck I ever had in my life. If you know anything about 65, 66 Galaxies, they have their own special pattern. 65 is one pattern, 66 is its own special pattern, and it's a pretty well-known pattern in the Ford world. It's basically this knit, puckered, I don't even know what you'd call this, but it's this knit center with these padded outers. And the funny thing about this is that reclining seats are already kind of a rare option in Thunderbirds. In 66 Galaxies, it's even more of a rare option. And I think most of the cars that did have reclining seats would have been 7 liters. So they were a little bit more common in the 7 liters than they were in any other Galaxie. LTDs probably had more of them too, because in LTD, the first year for the LTD, especially in 66, LTDs were a little bit higher trim and more luxurious, so maybe they got some more too. But even so, they're already extremely rare in Thunderbirds and even more rare in Galaxies. They are so rare, in fact, I didn't even know that Galaxies could have a reclining seat option until doing a bunch of research and realizing that they actually did make kits for them. Because what are the chances that I have the exact color combo that is already extremely rare in the right combination of a reclining seat for a 66 Galaxie, and they have one in stock potentially? And he checked and he said, yep, we have got one in stock. It's the last one. We've had it for a while. It's in back stock. That's why it's as cheap as it is. And so I said, I'll buy them. And I bought them. And then about a week later on my birthday, they showed up. And I'll tell you what, it was one of the best purchases I feel that I ever could have had, because it just so happened that I had this set of reclining seats and that I was able to find the exact combo I needed that matches my interior. And the purchase price was less than the price that I paid for the Mustang seat upholstery that I bought for the 67 F250. You can go watch that video. It's in my playlist about my 67 F250. We did bucket seats on that truck, and the upholstery for that was about $115 on eBay, and I thought I got a steal buying a brand new upholstery kit that was 20 years old for $115. This set was $86. I couldn't believe it. It was $86 because it was literally the last one they had, and probably the last one in the country, to be completely honest, because how many people need light aqua, dark aqua? The common colors for any seat in a Galaxie in a 7 liter were really black, white, red, medium blue, maybe ember glow. Light aqua, dark aqua was already an extremely rare combo, and the fact that they happened to have one with a reclining seat was unbelievable. And I paid $86 for it. Free shipping even. So, this is what they look like. As you can see, it's got the knit portion, and then it's got the padding on the outside. And it's funny because when they arrived, I found the tag from Dearborn Classics. They were made by Dearborn Classics, which is basically who made all of these interior upholstery kits at the time. And you can't really see, but there's a date on here, and the date is September 10th, 2002. And it is currently August 30th. Or 31st. I don't even know what day it is. So we are almost exactly 22 years from production of these when they were quality inspected. So these had been sitting on a shelf somewhere since 2002, not being purchased because nobody needed a light aqua, dark aqua set. That's my whole ramble. This is what we're putting on it. Let's get to tearing these things apart. I've never torn apart seats like this, and I'm hoping to show you guys because I don't think there's any videos on YouTube about it. So we're going to learn together. Let's get into it. All right, so I had to clear a little path, but we're now at the seat, and I'm basically just going to start ripping it apart. Probably should have grabbed some bags and trays and things for all this stuff, but we're basically just going to take apart everything that has a screw and take it off, because there's a lot of stuff to take off. And there's 3 screws on the bottom here. Oh. Maybe don't strip them out. Looks like it. So there you go, your back shield. It's 3 screws on the bottom, and then there's 2 tabs on the top that are bent, and they just slide upwards. And then we can take this chrome, or this stainless trim off later with the screws. But we're basically going to clean this up. These are going to get painted. They are textured. We're going to paint them to match eventually. have no idea how this is supposed to come off. The foam's probably supposed to be a little bit softer, and it's not cooperating. Oh yeah, it's a hard spot, that would be why. Basically, I put a few coats on the bottom tracks as well as the seat frames. I just put 2 quick coats. Honestly, they don't really look that much different, but I covered up some of the rust. So I cleaned these guys. I washed them down and scrubbed them with a sponge and soap, got them nice and clean. So now I'm basically just gonna Scotch-Brite them, rough them up a little bit. The wind is picking up, so I really don't know if I'll be able to get these painted today, but I would really like to so that I can let them cure. I don't know if I showed already, but this is the color I'm going with. It's a GM color. It's bright aqua metallic. It's pretty basic. It's pretty close to the dash color. It's not perfect, and I know I could probably get a more perfect if I waited some time and special ordered it. But it's here, I have it. Might as well use it, and I'm not worried about this being perfect. I just want it to be close-ish. So this is pretty close-ish, honestly. And this also is all the bottom of the seat, so you really don't see it, but it's a pretty close match, so I'm happy enough with it. I think it'll work. So let's get to sanding. I'm gonna go ahead and actually strip down these upper backs. I'm gonna go ahead and paint these. I actually was really happy with the results of this GM Bright Aqua Metallic. Color-wise, it's actually pretty close to the Aqua, and it's honestly close enough that eventually if I start painting my dash, I will just continue with this color. So this is how it turned out. It looks pretty good. It actually tinted it more than really painting it. You can still see some of the blemishes underneath, like some of the rust spots, and this one's not a really good example, but there are some spots that you can see through, which is kind of nice because it actually makes it look a little bit more worn. I'm just gonna sand the whole thing and then wipe it down, and then I'll get these things painted, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And in just a moment, we're gonna be upholstering these things, so stay tuned. Well, it's the next day. Yesterday did not go well. As you can see, we have a seat top finished, kind of. But there is a seat frame here. This is actually the driver's side bottom seat frame, and the top side's just right there sitting on the hood of my Mustang. This was rough. This was definitely a lot harder than I expected. My hands are virtually useless at this point from the deep-seated blisters and cuts. This top piece, I started with that first, and I'm kind of glad I did because it was absolutely the hardest one to do. It didn't go super well. We have a combination of problems going on here. The first being, this is 22-year-old vinyl, and my dad and I have come to the conclusion that it has actually shrunk a little bit from sitting so long, and so it is tight because it's shrunk. It's also weakened because it is 20 years old and it hasn't been used, so it has not been stretched or anything like that, and so all of the seams are a little bit not the way they were intended to be. And then in combination with that, we have 65 T-Bird foam, which is technically the only foam you can get for these seats. However, 65 T-Bird foam is too plush for the stock Galaxie material. It's not intended to be this plush. The 65 T-Birds, the 64 through 66 T-Bird seats were a little bit more plush because it was a luxurious car, so the foam is thicker, which also added to the complications. So you can kind of tell how pillowy it looks because it's extremely plush. This will wear down over time as it gets used, but let me show you what we got so far. This is basically the only one that's completely done. The passenger side bottom is 90% done, and you can see it right there. However, I made the mistake of not going over the back first and then coming to the front and tightening the front. I started at the front, worked my way around, and then once I got to the back, it was too late. These seat frames have an unusual design where they have this really harsh corner right here, if you can see that, on the back side of the bottom seat frame. You need to get over this corner first. And that was a theme that I figured out throughout the rest of this, that you need to go over the stamped steel metal corners first, like on the headrest here, which does work up and down. It's nice and functional. Go ahead and stand this guy up. They are very heavy, so I apologize if it's cumbersome to hold, but it does function nice and easy. I gotta clean these things up. There's a little bit of blood on them. We don't need to worry about that. But the whole head seat frame has corners that were kind of hard to work around. Oh boy. Let me turn this guy around, and you can actually see right here on this corner it split just from it being so tight, and I probably didn't let it warm up enough. So we're just going to ignore the back of this headrest because you can't see it when the headrest is down, which again, super plush, so it doesn't sit all the way down. This is how the aqua backs turned out. A little bit bright, but looks fine. And I didn't do anything to the stainless trim because remember, I'm not stripping all this. It's gonna stay. Too much work. Okay, other than I'm battling the heat, so I'm kind of like moving around and trying to do this, I've got our holes drilled in our little retainer, and it fits perfectly well, and this should work pretty good. And basically, I'm going to put this on. Now, you could measure it, but I've done some research and kind of seen where it's supposed to go, and it's supposed to go along this line, and you can kind of line up the upper portion and just go a touch above that. That's kind of where every single one I've seen is. So we're just going to eyeball it, get it right in the center, straight up and down, and that's good. I'm sure these were not done perfectly from the factory. So I've got one of them there, and I've just got an awl here. I'm just puncturing. I'm pulling up to give it a little bit of room, and then simple enough, we just put our emblem on, and then I'm just going to push down, and I've got our spring clips from the T-Bird logo actually. And there we go. It's probably a little bit deeper than it needs to be, but still looks good and it's centered. All right, well, let's continue on with the time lapse and probably get this on the seat frame and then let it sit out in the sun and then go work on the bottom again. So let's do that. Okay, after a lot of struggle and a lot of pain, all of the seats are upholstered. So now we get to put all the trim back on and put it all together. Of course, the wind is picking up right now. So let's put all these trim pieces back on, starting with this piece for the drivers. It just sits in here like that. And then this whole thing gets flipped. And we'll take these pliers, because they seem to be the best for this. Flip all this over tightly. And there's that. Slide the whole thing down like that. Screw them in. And then boom, there's our back, which now we can... And there's our finished front seat. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. We worked with it for a while and it was a nightmare, so we're just gonna call it like it is. And that's done. There we go, the upper back is now one single piece. Well, welcome back. It's the next day. It's really bright and it's already getting real hot. Yesterday, I got the seats basically completely finished up and upholstered. All that's left is put the tracks on, and passenger seat already has its tracks on. I'm actually gonna have to wait to put any plastic on because my plastic is in such bad shape. I'm gonna have to just get new ones. So I'll probably put the seats in, leave the plastic off for now until I can find some better plastics. But as you can see, I'm inside the car and there's no bench seat in here. We just took it out a few minutes ago. It's actually sitting against the back of the car right now. And we're at the point now where we gotta make some track adapters. On stock Galaxie bucket seats, the seat track length is about 10.5 inches, I believe, or 10 3/8 inches. The Thunderbird are a lot shorter, so the Thunderbird tracks that I have are closer to like 8.5. So quite a bit different. So we have to actually add some track extenders, which we're basically going to make out of angle iron. And I just got to make them about 11 inches and drill some holes. And I do have to drill some inner holes. And I believe the sad part about this is that I believe I have to go from the inner hole of my carpet. So the outer holes will be visible. However, the plastic sits out from the seat a little bit, so I think in the future, when I have plastic, it'll cover these nasty holes up. I hope. If not, we'll figure out something, some sort of floor mat or something. I do have a little bit extra carpet, so I'll figure something out. But in the meantime, I gotta pull this carpet up. I gotta pull this carpet up and drill some holes and then make some brackets. So let's do that. Oh boy. Seat's coming in. Oh, tell you what, that looks great with the carpet. I don't know how far off I am. Oh yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, that helps.
The gravity works with against us.
Oh, there it is. I was like, I don't feel a bolt. Oh man, this is gonna be hard. I didn't think about the washer. I'll have to look.
But you can use lefts and rights, right?
Oh. Whew. It's comfortable. I mean, Lexi will hate it, but it's pretty freaking comfortable. That's all the way forward, which is... The leg position's a little odd because it's very much like low. Although you can really, damn! Oh, didn't lock. There. Yeah, you could. I don't know why they sold this. I'm going to be honest. This is the dumbest thing that Ford ever did. There was some guy in R&D convinced them. So it has a point where it goes too far. Right there. Yeah. Headrest. Just...
Yeah, that really is stupid. But if you want to lay down, yeah, definitely.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That is a sleeping position in swapping.
Okay, so sorry for the wind noise if it's picking up, but we've got the passenger seat in and we had to go do something, so we left and we came back, and now we're pretty much about ready to do the driver's seat. Now, this probably should have gotten tested before I did any of this, but I knew the motor might have been stuck and some other issues, so we're going to go ahead and test the motor now, because once this is in, we're going to want the motor to work. So I have everything plugged back in. I have the switch over here, and I actually have this set of jumper wires that the previous owner of the Thunderbird this came out of for some reason made. They're super heavy duty and super long, and we actually might end up using them and cut them down and use them as wiring to actually wire this up. But I'm going to go ahead and hook this up, and black is ground. Let's hope there's no shorts in any of this. Nothing's hot. Let's see if it works. Oh. Okay, that's moving forward. That's moving back. Okay, that's as far as it goes, and solenoid clicks out. There it goes. Okay. Seems like it works. Cool. It works.
Inside one, you don't want somebody to be able to come through the window and put your back window down, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh. I think I just broke a plastic clip. My hand's stuck. Can you lift up the... Yeah. Okay.
Did you get bolts for the front?
Yep.
That
Whoop. We're high. It's really high. Well, I'm sitting a little high, so I guess I should... Oh, I gotta turn the key on. I guess I should move my seat down. What you know about that? That's all the way down. Probably go forward just a little bit. Perfect. Well, that's bucket seats, and they're done for the most part. I still have to paint the brackets, which I will do later. I also have to find plastic pieces, and I'm going to try to find more chrome for the insides. They didn't come from the factory with the aluminum trim around this side because the console of a T-Bird is right here, so you would never see it anyways. So I'm going to try to find some, and then these will be fully done. But for now, this works, and we got power. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time. Bye.